Breaking this story from across the borders, this crisis in Sri Lanka deepening even further as protesters stormed President Rajapaksa's residence in Colombo city, the capital of Sri Lanka. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled as protesters surrounded his residence with slogans of "Gota, go home." Protesters tried to barge into the president's residence as they engaged in violent clashes with the police. Police have used tear gas shells to disperse the crowd who tried to jump over the barricade at Rajapaksa's residence is what we know. Absolute mayhem from Colombo. These are pictures, in fact, of heavy bandobast of the police. Sri Lankan police has a while ago used tear gas shells as well to bring the situation under control. Even as he's fled is what we are picking up. These are pictures live on your screen from Colombo there, where protesters have cleared out the residence of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who himself has fled. We do not know of the whereabouts of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, but what we know is that he's left his official residence as the Sri Lankan police there is trying to bring the situation under control. Remember, there's been an economic and a financial crisis brewing in Sri Lanka for weeks together now. My colleague Pramod Madhav has been tracking these details, is now joining us for more on that. We know nothing absolutely, Pramod, about the whereabouts of the president, the beleaguered president of Sri Lanka, who's now fled. But what we know is that from these pictures, they managed to enter the residence, the official residence of the president.
Well, one thing we clearly know is that the situation has gone worse to completely worse in the island nation, and this has been a situation for several weeks now, and people are unable to tolerate, and reports from the ground claim that this protest was already planned, and that's the reason a police curfew was earlier announced. But seeing that how people were reacting to it, that curfew was removed, and almost an hour ago several hundred people entered the president's residence, and not just that, in that particular chaos, 7 people were injured, including 2 policemen. But for now, the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, has fled his residence, and no one exactly knows where he is. And amidst this chaos, schools have been, we are getting reports that schools will be declared holiday from 11th to 15th in the island nation. And Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has also called for an emergency party leaders meet, and post which probably an emergency parliamentary session as well. In fact, 2 days ago, when Gotabaya went to the parliament session to attend it, he was actually booed and sent back with the members in the parliament very clearly stating, "Go back, Gota, Gota, go back." That was the only statement, and this is what we could hear from the protesters today as well. They were only saying, "Go back, Gota," which means that for now, all they demand is the resignation of President Gotabaya.
Horrific pictures there coming in from Colombo. Also, what we know, Pramod, is that efforts have been made by the president also to try and help the people of the country. In fact, some efforts were made by Gotabaya Rajapaksa only very recently to approach Russia as far as help is concerned vis-a-vis the shortage of fuel in the country, because of which this economic crisis has sparked off, isn't it?
And from people, the Sri Lankan Tamils who have come from Sri Lanka seeking refugee here, we have got several stories. They very clearly mentioned that there is no food, nothing is affordable. In fact, a kg of rice over there is costing more than 400 rupees, and for a family, if they have one meal, they cannot have another 2. That's a big issue. And the second problem is that if they have to go to work, transportation is very important, but there is no fuel over there. That is turning into a very big problem. In fact, certain people from there who reach Indian shores, they state that they have to wait for nearly 3 days, 4 days to get 2 liters of kerosene for cooking, and the situation is much worse when it comes to petrol and diesel. So these are the things that actually, even though on one side Gotabaya tried to actually take care of the situation, it looks like either they need much more counseling as to what to be done at the present time, or it looks like they don't have much time anymore because the people are completely gone. They have no hopes at all, and that's the reason you could see such massive protests and even people storming the president's residence.
Our Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan is also with us. Pramod, I'll just come back to you for more on that. I'm going to go straight to Geeta for the crisis, Geeta, that we're seeing in front of us. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, what do we know about the president right now? Has he been escorted to safety? And what really was the trigger to this, Geeta, given that this is not a new crisis per se? This has been brewing for weeks together, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, Sneha. Crisis, an unprecedented scale of crisis in Sri Lanka, never seen before. A country that is witnessing the worst kind of economic stress, the kind of food shortage, fuel shortage that the country is facing and witnessing is now showing in the streets of Sri Lanka, Sneha. And while it is not a new phenomena, how long can people stay without fuel and without adequate food supply or food at very high prices? So patience worn out is what is being witnessed in the streets of Sri Lanka, that the people over there no longer can bear the cost of living in Sri Lanka and have no other option but then to question the government. We do know that Mahinda Rajapaksa had left the residence when the crisis came upon him, when he was Prime Minister, and had moved to Hambantota, which is their own home constituency, to the naval bases there, meaning taking refuge under the security of the armed forces. The president also now has left his residence, but we do not really know of his whereabouts. In all probability, it would again be taking refuge under the security and safety of the forces. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, in a series of tweets, has been talking about and tweeting about the state of affairs. We are also given to understand now that he has called for a meeting, and that meeting will be with the cabinet ministers and party leaders to discuss the situation and resolve the situation